Good afternoon. This is Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing, but it's a thing we want you tuned into every Saturday afternoon. I'm Elsa McGee, your host, and I'm here today doing the same thing we've been trying to do ever since we started the show. Making sense out of a sensitive situation called the Plight of Veterans in the USA, and the USA with the Plight of Veterans. Less than 1% of the population of these United States ever served in the U.S. military. Small minority, but have a powerful mission to protect this democracy and the people of this country all around the world. Not just the war machine, but the first responders to natural disasters everywhere. So today, I'm here again and got a special guest. You know, Miss Winslow has been with us before and gonna help us out with this season. You know, we're in a political season right now, and I've been like all over everywhere talking with veterans, you know, just talking with veterans, because one of the things that we know more than anything is that we're going to the poll. We're going to the poll and vote no matter what. The unfortunate reality of it is, though, we're divided just like the rest of the communities. About 26% of the 700,000 veterans in the state of Georgia vote Republicans, whether we want them or not. Another 36% going Democrats, where we want them, the rest of us. We are those that swing vote. We don't know which way we're going to swing, though. Watching these commercials, not even talk to the politicians that's running for office. You know, it done got to be more theatrics than it is policy discussions. Ms. Winslow, can you help us out with this?
Yes, so let me, the last time I was on the show, I want to make a correction about something, because I was talking about veterans and them getting a tax exemption. Mm-hmm. And they can get that from Fulton County. But I went back down to Fulton County, and the lady emphasized to me that a veteran has to be, I think it's 100%.
100% total and permanent in order to get that.
Exactly. So they have to be 100% totally and permanently disabled. So she made me understand that. So I just wanted to mention that.
Let me interject. Service-connected disabled. We want to make
service-connected disabled.
We want to make that clarification because the VA has two disability grids, right? Mm-hmm. One is pension, and the other one is compensation.
Right. So I just did a general exemption about every veteran, but that's not true. So I wanted to clear that up.
But we're working on it.
We're working on it. That's right. Because we would like to have more veterans to be able to take advantage of that exemption, and maybe they're not 100%. Mm-hmm. Okay, totally disabled, but maybe they're 60% disabled. So that's a goal to try to reach. So now we're in election season, and these are the midterms. So everybody's been, hammered with ads. People have been calling up, asking you to vote for a particular candidate. So there are a lot of candidates that are running. And it's really important that people go out and vote, that veterans go out and vote. I was just talking to some young people that left the studio. So I was telling them, and we have young veterans, so I want to talk to the young veterans that are in the service, or maybe you were in the service and you're not now, but you're registered to vote. So what the statistics show and the percentages show is, you've heard about the super voter. So the super voter is a person that votes in every election. They don't care what it is. It may be a referendum that's coming up where people aren't running, but it's something special that needs to be voted on. So those are super voters. Those people are going to come out all the time. We know that, okay? And we don't take them for granted. We need them to come out. They are the base of both parties, okay? But the other one are the younger voters, the voters 18 to 40. Those are the voters that we really need to come out. I was listening to went to a rally with Stacey Abrams, and so she was talking about the percentages of the different groups that vote. So she said the largest percentage of people that vote are black women. The second group is, I believe, is white women. Okay? And the third group is black men. They're third. You need to be first. You need to be number one. And the only way you can make yourself number one is that you got to go to the polls early. You know, early voting starts on Monday, October 17th. And I said something to these young people, and politicians don't want to admit these things, but I'm just going to tell you and be honest with you. You know, politicians look at the ages of people that vote. They look at that, okay? And so, you know, if they've got a bill that's coming up, they may say, well, we need to help those people who are, that group of voters who are voting. They may not have voted for me, but they're voting. So there may be some special legislation for them. So our young men need to go out and vote. That makes a difference. I was talking to a young man yesterday at the West End print shop. And so he started a kind of like a counseling group for young black men where they can come and just express themselves. And I thought that was wonderful because black men need an outlet to be able to go and talk about whatever issues they're dealing with in society. And even though I'm a black woman, there's some things that I don't understand because I'm a woman. Okay? So it's real important for you to, and this is just how it is in government, for you to express yourself through your vote. Okay? That counts more than anything. Registering is the first step, but actually going to vote is the second step. And you say, oh, well, it's not going to make any difference. My vote's not going to count. Yeah, as a veteran, your vote is going to count. As a young veteran, but you got to go. You got to go. So that is important. And you will see, you see voting in council races has went down to its lowest ever last year. Only 20% of the population. Now can you imagine 20% of the voting population voted? So that were those were people who may have put in the right person or may not have. But 80% of the people didn't go vote. They didn't go express themselves. So if something goes wrong, the 80%, who are you going to blame? So it's important. You know, veterans have a lot of issues in terms of health, in terms of psychological issues, and just needing somebody to care. And so there's a real need for government to do a better job, okay, of caring. But part of that is, you know, and I'm talking about young veterans because there's a group there, young folks that just they're not voting as much as they need to, and these are midterms, and we need your vote. We need your vote.
I'd like to interject this because what I think a lot of the politicians are missing is giving young people, and not just young people, but that 80%, a real reason to vote, to understand how that vote is connected with their issues. Look, I just want to go into this latest fiasco, I'm going to call it, that's going on at VA. Massive changes, in terms of extensions of benefits, but then massive deceptions in the same bill, and the PAC Act. Everybody's talking about the PAC Act.
Right.
Well, the PAC Act didn't include several, up to 30 military bases that was contaminated by Agent Orange. They talked about one, Camp Lejeune. And if we look at Camp Lejeune and see why they are talking about Camp Lejeune, it comes from years of the Marines battling the Department of Defense, and finally getting some elected officials to legislate changes. They legislate the changes that's necessary for them to get benefits. Years after the event, thousands of people died, and other people are suffering about these benefits. So, and my rounds with veterans, and I want to correct this, in the high 90s, we voted in the high 90s. You know why? We pledge allegiance to the flag. You know, we stand up and do that all of our military service days. Every day we pledge allegiance to a flag. So we are motivated to vote because of that experience, period. What bothers me is not focusing that vote, you know, into the families. We have a lot of influence in our families, military families. So I'm challenging all of the veterans that I've been talking to in Fulton County over the last month to challenge your family, to get your family to make sure that they're going out and vote. And like we might have to do what Malcolm talked about, the lesser of the two evils right now. You know, the lesser of the two evils will be the ones that gonna help us keep this democracy that we serve for. I've seen too many young men die for this democracy. I was personally wounded in combat for this democracy. And then to have politicians to think that they can poll us into doing so, or rally us at their rallies, not talking and hearing feedback from us. It's almost, that's the problem. You know, the big problem in getting people out to vote right now is the fact that we are not motivating them, educating them to why they need to vote for their own particular interests. And veterans need to know. They already know the VA Medical Center here in Atlanta is the worst in the country. Every veteran know that. They hear it over and over again. All the news that coming out of VA is bad news. Why haven't we changed the director out there? They changed it twice when they had two African Americans directors. They didn't have no problem with making excuses to get rid of them. But now we got real serious issues at the Atlanta VA. And our politicians are just talking about veterans. Why aren't they pushing for changes at the VA that matters to the veteran that's going there every day? 400,000 now went to the VA last year.
So I think there's a disconnect, okay? And I think
serious disconnect.
Yeah. So I think the veteran feels as though, as elected officials, and I'm speaking just on the council level, that we know everything that's going on, like in terms of what you're fighting for.
No, we think you don't know. That's
right. We don't know. We don't
feel.
know. Yeah. So when the PIT legislation, when you were talking about
that's the PAC Act. That's one of the extensions.
The PAC. Okay, the PAC Act. Okay, I didn't know what it was called. Okay, I didn't know about it until you mentioned it. You understand? I didn't know what it meant until you explained it to me. So what's going through my head now is that on a local level, and I'm going to talk about the postal workers and how they did it from a federal level down to a local level. On a local level, if we know certain things, we can write letters. Okay? Now I'm from a family of veterans. I can write a letter. I don't have to, somebody else can write a letter. They don't have to have had anybody that was a veteran. But we can do it from the local level. So let me give you an example. I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, the postal workers, okay, they were, the federal government was going to close down certain post offices. And a lot of them were in Southwest Atlanta. So I think it was about 5, okay? And so they came to us, the Mail Handlers Union, and they asked us to help them. So we actually went out door to door in our various communities where the post offices were scheduled to close, and we got petitions so they wouldn't close. Okay, so I think that, like you said, there's a disconnect, and we need to reconnect. Okay, and I don't think it's anybody's fault. Okay.
Well, let me say this: it is. It's our fault collectively.
Right.
You know, if we don't take responsibilities for the issues, we never gonna resolve them.
Right.
Right now, we need to think about the millions of dollars, right? And I've been preaching this sermon to everybody that would listen. That's allocated for veterans benefits every year. You know, my book, Short Change. We've been shortchanged. Why? Because we don't have setups in our communities to make sure that the veterans that's coming back to our community that went are getting those benefits and bringing those resources back to the local community.
Right.
You know, why we are spending millions and millions of dollars trying to eliminate homelessness when we got all the resources we need to do that probably overnight in Fulton County. That's the disconnect.
Right.
You know, the disconnect is that these veterans don't have anything, so they're not worth anything. So homelessness is then grown into a business.
That's the truth.
And,
now that's the truth.
You know, so we have to be connecting with the veterans that's in the community, that's addressing these issues and trying to make sure that the community understand that this guy that's up under the bridge probably got a disability from his military service. And he should be getting benefits that cover not just the medical care, but his household income every month.
Right.
Those benefits are allocated every year in the VA allocation bill. You know, in order to get the VA to straighten up, a lot of times some of these elected officials need to threaten them with, okay, we know how to get your attention during the time you're reaching for money, taxpayers' dollars. You know, because we got claims in the process, right? Especially DIC claims. DIC claims are surviving spouses.
Oh, okay.
You know, and dependents. And you know, the VA make that hard for these young ladies to get their benefits.
I was trying to get that for my mother. We
a
never
nightmare.
did. We never did get it.
It's a nightmare, and it should be seamless.
Right. We never did get it.
It should be seamless. So this is why you got some people say, I don't care. I don't make no difference. It doesn't make any difference. This I can give you for example. This brother was serving at Fort Boyd, right? How Agent Orange pushed it around, carried it around the base, because the VA Congress has not recognized that it was there, even though the manifest, the Department of Defense know it was there. He can't get benefits.
Right.
His family is not given the same respect that my family is given just because I went to Vietnam. You know, he was still in the same military.
Right.
You know, the disconnect is that they don't recognize that had it not been for the people in the rear, we couldn't have survived in the fields. And so when I see one veteran being disrespected for his benefits or his surviving spouse being disrespected for their benefits, it bothers me. And it should bother the whole community. And we should get our politicians to listen sometime. And that's why I want to thank you. I'm just going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Right now. Because, you know, I've been knowing you for years, and you've been knowing me. You listen. Councilman Bonds listen. Mary Norwood listens. You know, you got a few politicians elected. I don't call them politicians. I call them servers, community servers. I don't even like the word politician.
Right.
I don't even like it because it upsets me, because I realize that when I'm trying to help him get his benefits, and I see the block there because there's no law to facilitate it. I don't want to talk about no politician.
Right.
I need a community servant. I need somebody that's going to stand up to the VA and say, why? Why you not doing equal protection of the law yet. You know, this is a person that served in our military.
Right.
That 1%, that less than 1%, that made that sacrifice, and you know what it is because your family did that.
Exactly.
You know, and when the ugly part about it is that when the VA don't take care of us, who take care of us? The family and our community.
Right.
You know, our community should get these benefits. I was talking to a politician. He said, "Oh, that's federal. We ain't got nothing to do with that." But we come out of the local community. We live in the local community. We live in Fulton County. We live in Atlanta. We live in East Point. So, thank you for supporting the Sons of Atlanta project. See, a lot of people want to know, well, why do you want another memorial? Because they came from my community. I went to high school with some of these guys. Their family has never been said that these were heroes. They just brought them home and buried them.
Right.
So I feel offended, you know, because I could have been one of those. It came so close to it that, you know, I cannot forget those that didn't make it back.
Right.
And I look at their families and I say, why haven't they been recognized? You know, and with the suicides, the family is the way to cure that. Give the family the resources that
they need.
They need. So when they see that loved one coming back, my mom used to tell me, "You got to go to the VA, Elsie." You know, she didn't know nothing else, but she knew you, my child.
Right.
You're different.
Right.
Than you were.
Before you left. Yeah.
So she wasn't gonna leave it alone.
Right, and that was good.
She wouldn't leave me alone.
Right.
You know, even though I go out to the VA and they say, "You okay?" I'm going back home to Mom. I'm okay. She said, I don't care what them folks say. I'm
You're not
living
okay
with you, son. I see you. I see your behavior. You know, she didn't. The VA didn't give her the resource. God gave it to her, because she just kept at it. She wouldn't give up on it. You know?
Which was
a lot of families can't handle mental illnesses, especially when it comes from a veteran, because that trauma was born in violence. It was born in violence, so their reactions to the triggers in the community is violent. So we got to give those families, the communities, the resources to help their loved ones. And we can do away with all this suicide and the homelessness in our community if we had more servants.
Right. So one of the things that past mayors have done, it just triggered something, and I can't remember what topics there were, but when it came to certain things, like maybe housing, you know, a mayor would say, when these CDBG dollars come through from the federal government, we're going to concentrate more on funding housing programs, okay? And we did. And so it was to fill a need, a void that was there. And I would hope, and I was just with Mayor Dickens a little earlier today for a program, that there'd be an opportunity to sit down with our current mayor. And the way it can be framed is, you know, Mayor, we've got a homeless population. And we've got a lot of veterans that are homeless. And I know that just from experience, from working with them every day. And one of the ways to help solve the homeless problem is when some money's coming down through CDBG, is to fund more veterans programs, because the federal government needs to do more, but the local government can do more as well.
Now, one of the things that, and I'm gonna just sing his praise again, you know, servants rather than politicians.
Right.
Marvin Arrington Jr.
Yes, we were together the other day. Yeah.
Veterans, Veterans Service Program in Fulton County. They put up $1 million this year. For the first time in the history of this county. I mean, the RFP was kind of messed up. The bureaucrats twisted it the wrong way. But you know, it's there to be tweaked back to where they intended for it to go. And I think that with the resources of the county, with the resources of the city, and with the resources of VA, we could set up, you know, they got 2 hotels on 4th and Industrial right now that's owned by the county. That Marvin Anderson Jr. done said that he want to see one of them set up for veterans. And we want to make a community, a community transition center that's going to help eliminate homelessness in our county. You know, and give the other counties an example of how this can be done with the resources that we already have. What we got to do with the homeless population, with the homeless programs, is get the property pimps out of there. You know. Yes. I mean,
we got one gone. I won't name that. Yeah, I won't name that group. Yes.
See, we need to be able to speak truth to power.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and we see the issues, and we need to address them in the community. Once we got more servants doing that, the population voting thing's gonna go up because they want to keep that. Right now, people just, you know, especially my grandchildren, I want to box them because they tell me all the time, Papa, it don't matter. You know, listen, baby girl, I'm about to go upside your head because it does matter.
It does matter.
You know, it does matter. I got a Purple Heart say it matters. You know, I lost friends that say it matters. But we got to give these young people something to see.
Right. And connect it up.
And connect it.
And connect. And I think that's part of the problem. There's a disconnect there. We may be doing some things, but we're not connecting it up to give people a full picture.
See, I'm gonna tell you something.
But we still need to do more.
Every time I was in the park on my side of town, Oakland City, Mosley Park, Washington Park, if I didn't see you, I saw Michael Jr. Bond, even Marvin Anderson Jr. in the community with the people. They can touch you. They can talk to you.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And we need that in order to get this empathy. See, the empathy comes from the feeling that we see. We got to look back. You probably can't remember this, but we come out of a minority rule period in our country. Less than 100 years ago, white women and people of color couldn't even vote. So this population of white men made all of the decisions for this country. That's why it's in big trouble now. See, that they can't take the multicultural, multiracial democracy that makes us the most powerful, the most beautiful nation on planet Earth. Tell them to get over it.
Get over it.
Tell them to get over it because we ain't going nowhere. And we gonna get servants in our government. You know, it's our government. We're gonna get servants in there that will come to the park, that will come out in the community and not be afraid. You know, I can remember when Maynard used to stand on the corner of Cascade and Deal. Not Cascade and Donnelly. Could walk up to him. You could talk to him. He listened. Just because he was smart, that didn't mean he wasn't listening. See, if he wasn't so smart, the state would have done took the airport already.
That's true.
So we got to get past thinking that all veterans are the homeless and not community servants. I talked with Ted Jackson the other day. He gone somewhere. But see, we got to get these people, and Ted will volunteer. He'll come out in the community and help with stuff. You know, we got too many retired and people in our community that could replace these property pimps with programs that would change the landscape of our community. We used to do it. And segregation, I'm gonna tell you something. I asked my sister one day, I said, were we latchkey kids? She said, the door was never locked.
That's true.
This was on Drummond Street. You know what Drummond Street is?
I know where Drummond Street is.
That was right up from Hunter Street.
Exactly. Right around the corner from Beckwith.
The door never locked. Because I can't remember having no key.
Didn't need one.
Didn't need no key.
Didn't need a key.
We need to get that kind of value back in our community so we can, first of all, a bunch of veterans, I'm going to just say this, going to be getting with you, and some of our other community servants.
Okay.
And we got to get these automatic weapons out of our communities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want no war weapon in my community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want that. I'm seeing kids being killed by fear.
Mm-hmm.
We got a fear in our community. Everybody got to have a gun.
Yeah.
The preachers, I hope they listen to me. You know, I know some of them say you ain't just talking about that, man. But God is our witness. We're gonna have to do better. And you know, with people like you, and you taking the time to come to Veterans Talk and share the details of what we need to be looking at.
Right.
You know, because we do need to be looking at these young folks, but we need to look at the old folks that birthed them, brought them into. They can still have an influence over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can tell I got some crazy grandkids now, but you know, they get pop up crazier.
Right.
You know,
right.
And I get to throwing up and going off on them. They either get gone or listen.
Right. Right.
You know.
You know, so at your last meeting, and I don't remember his name, but I did get some information. He wanted to know about housing, so it clicked in my head. Mm-hmm. Maybe Habitat.
Yeah.
You know, we forget that there are opportunities out there.
Already out there.
Already.
We need to tap into them.
Yeah, just talking to Habitat to say, you know what? Could your next 25 houses that you build throughout the city of Atlanta, could they be dedicated to veterans?
And see,
I don't think they've been asked.
Well, see,
so
they
so it's not rattling around in their
They
head.
can use the VA benefit upon them.
Exactly.
You know, see, one of the things that we keep missing, that these veterans, well, when I say these veterans, us, we earn benefits.
Right.
One of them is to get a house without any down payment.
Right.
You know, one of them is to start a business. So while we economically occupied by so many different people that don't have any respect for the community that they, you know, we got to get veterans. You know, especially when we know that they got a voice in the community, like Ted and. Well, you know, it's a lot of veterans, you know, that got a voice. I miss Reverend Love and that crew because they would speak out. I remember them praying with us in front of the VA. I asked them to come out there, and we almost started a riot in front of the VA. We were just praying. We were praying for the patient. We were praying for the staff because they need prayer. They need changing.
Yeah.
Anytime you got a person that would jump on a patient.
Right.
You know, that's what's happening at the Atlanta VA. You know, so we need people that gonna screen these people. They don't need to be working in there like that.
Right.
They need people that gonna work in there that understand that the guy probably been shell shot. You know, he got a problem. You know, you extend some patience and courtesy to him, you could help him.
You know, during the riots, that we had in 2020. I was on the Civil and Human Rights Board, and I just did it very quietly. I asked them, I said, I want you to set up a sensitivity training for our police officers in the city of Atlanta.
And we got some beautiful police officers.
Right,
you know?
right.
I got a lot of brothers on there, veterans.
Right,
so I don't want to hear people talking about all the police. We got some brothers that put their life on the line. They shouldn't have to face no automatic weapons.
Right. They put their life on the line every day. But it had probably been 20 years since we'd had a sensitivity session. And the original one was done by SCLC.
Pennington, I think.
It was before Pennington.
Reginald Eves?
No, it was in between. Don't get me talking about.
Well, we know what.
But it was no.
We got to go back there.
You know what? It might have been Pennington. That would have been about 20 years ago. It might have been.
Because he was.
He was the chief then.
And let me tell you something. He did. He sensitized his officers to deal with veterans that had mental problems. That was the first time, you know. And I remember he used to come to our meetings. I said, "Chief, don't wear your uniform. so you can
Right.
you can get to hear what they feeling.
Right.
And he would come out and man, just regular veteran, but he was able to penetrate and get communication going on with some of those guys who had problems.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's really what it's all about. And so that helped, I think the community said, okay, because some people do need sensitizing. Sometimes I need it. Okay,
yeah, I need it sometimes.
Yeah. To be reminded.
To be reminded.
So it was just a reminder, and it was something that had been done under Dr. Lowry with SCLC, and it worked. And it just needed to be revisited.
And the other part that I got to go back now because you got me going throw back. Reentry is another issue that we got to deal with in our community.
Yes.
And nobody dealt with that like Ruby Hurley and Earl Shinholster. And we got to go back there because they got Reginald Eves and involved with reentry and got offenders making tapes and having people come into the penitentiary to talk with young people, to make a difference. Somehow we got to get back to some of those values because our community is falling apart. But let me say this because we get to the end. Something is really happening at the VA that I need everybody to pay attention to and talk to your brothers and sisters about. They extended the Caregivers Act on the 1st of this month to every veteran that's 70%. You was talking about the percentage.
Right.
Any veteran that's 70% now, today, can actually get stifling for their family members that help them in the house.
Oh, wow, that's great.
That's a new, and that's up to $400 a month. I mean, they're already doing it anyway. That's just more income for inflationary times.
Right.
So we need that. You need that. I need you to help me get that message out because what we do every well, I'm not going to say Monday because I'm going back to Concerned Black Clergy on Mondays now, but we're at our office on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays doing claims, helping veterans get these benefits. So the Caregivers Act extended this to they saying about 45,000 more veterans. So that's in Georgia now.
Right.
So that made me, just jump like said, some reason to shout. This is a reason to shout because our community need to know about it because one of the things that happen, we don't know about these things that's happening, so we don't get the benefits.
Right.
The Georgia Department of Veterans Services is one of the worst in the country, and I'm saying that because we need a governor that's gonna pay them folks to help veterans. They out there faking. They have more claims denied than any. We gonna change that soon.
Okay. Let me mention another thing because there's a job fair that's coming up that veterans can come to. Okay, that's coming up on Wednesday, October 19th, and the job fair is going to be from 10 to 1 p.m. 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So it's coming up this coming week on October 19th, and the address is 692 Lindsay. That's Lindsay.
Okay,
Lindsay Street Northwest.
We're gonna post it on that. We got a Facebook group, right?
Wonderful.
That watch this show. About 400 people. So
I can send it to you.
You can send it. We're gonna post it in the group because they need to know about that.
Yes.
Not just for the veterans. Because most of my group is my age. I'm 76 in the next birthday.
Right.
But we got all these grandchildren.
Right, exactly.
And all these nieces and nephews that need this information. So we want to thank you for that.
And the holiday is coming up. People want to make extra money, and so there's an opportunity to do
seniors
that.
Too.
Listen, they want seniors. Employees are now looking at those persons who want to come back to work, want to work every day, and who have a strong work ethic. And those are folks who are 50 and older, and some 60 and up.
Yeah. I mean, so thank you. This is still Veterans Talk. I know we got into some stuff about voting today because we need to make sure that veterans are not just going out to vote, but be that voice in your house. Be that voice in your community that's going to get people out to vote. Now, we know that registration ends when you want to talk about
Well, registration ended on the 11th, but early voting starts October 17th. And people can call this number if they don't know where their closest location is, and it's 404-612-7020. That's 404-612-7020. So voting goes from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. this early voting. And you can vote on Sundays. You can vote on Sundays.
Okay. And listen, that there are some organizations also that if you can't get to the poll, we're going to post that on our group too, to make sure that you get to the poll. You know, it's a bunch of groups that will come pick you up and take you to the poll. So we ain't got no excuses for not voting. Starting Monday, you know, I like to go to the poll on election day.
Okay, some people, that's special for them.
That's special for me.
Special.
I like to go to the poll. I go right down on Cleveland and vote.
Okay.
So what we need though, we need people to go out every day. And let me say this: check with the Secretary of State to make sure your registration is current and everything is right.
Right.
Because you know, we got a history of people moving people off the voter roll.
Right,
and
right.
They not even know it till they show up.
Right. So I'm glad you said that. So if, and I'm not sure if your name isn't on there, but let's say, for instance, if you've forgotten your ID, okay, you can ask for what's called, and people have heard this word and didn't know what it meant, you can ask for a provisional ballot. Now they're not going to tell you they're not going to tell you you can get a provisional ballot. You have to ask for it. So a provisional ballot means that you can still vote without the ID, but within 3 days of you casting your vote, you have got to go back to your county registration and elections office and present that ID, and then your vote will be counted. Otherwise, they're going to toss it. So if you forgot your ID, you know, you can still vote provisionally.
Please.
Okay, yes.
Understand that, because we don't want no jump with this election coming up in midterm, because they're projecting it all kind of different ways, but we know for real, our democracy is at stake.
It is. It is.
We can't
definitely
forget what prices we've already paid. You know, we've already paid too much of a price to have it taken by some people that just can't accept this beautiful multicultural, multiracial democracy that's growing up in America, that's making us the most attractive nation on the planet.
Right.
That's why.
And it's been here listen, all different colors have been here throughout the world.
Throughout the world.
Because God created it that way.
Well, I'm going to tell you what you did. Now, a lot of people talk about how slow we are as a race. But you cannot show me any race that left slavery and became a president.
Oh.
not one. That's what scared this minority rule.
Right.
People.
Right. So let me tell you what my philosophy is, or theory is that when we were brought over here, this is my thinking, that they actually brought over the strongest people because
they needed workers.
Yeah, and the people in Africa were trying to get rid of the strongest people because they were over them. So they shipped them out. So when I go to, and I visit plantations, that's why I go there. So the last one I went to, the lady showed, we went under the house. We could walk underneath the house. And she said, this is what the slaves built. And they had the, no nails at that time. It's 1700s. But the grooves were so tight. And they were still in place. Hadn't even been repaired. And at the bottom of this house, there had been a fire. But because it was cypress, it did not damage the framing that much. But this was a Caucasian lady, and she was talking about how intelligent we were in terms of math and in terms of measurements. Okay.
And I want to say that we're better together.
Yes.
You know, we're a better nation because of this multicultural, multiracial community. And you know, we shouldn't be afraid of each other. One of the things that has gotten us afraid of each other, they talk about crime. Crime is I look at crime as an act of omission or an act of commission. Well, the act of omission is when we got people in power that just won't enforce the law equally. This is why it's so important for us to vote. We need to make sure that we getting servants in our government rather than politicians.
Right.
Because the politicians say yeah.
Right.
You know, they say
sell you out every day, every day.
So we got to realize that the 2%ers that own 90% of the wealth is always busy trying to keep it.
Right, and some of us are not in office today because we were not sellouts.
Wouldn't sell out.
We wouldn't sell out, and they understood that.
Well, that's so. They're trying to rid our government of servants.
Right.
See, they want politicians.
But they can't. So, I was at an event with Joy Shepherd. You know, she and I both are not on council this year. But so we're still active. We're still doing things in the districts in the that we represented.
Yeah, in the community.
Yeah, and so it was a mural unveiling. So it was the civil rights persons. It was the Abernathy family. It was Hosea's family. It was the Young family, and it was some other families that were there. So I just said in my comments, I said, even after civil rights, these leaders, from these families, continued the fight. They continued it.
Continue building this democracy.
Exactly. And so that's what we're doing. We're not, oh gosh, so I'm not down at city council, so I'm of no more value. I'm of no more use. No. Yeah. No, we're just as valuable as we ever were because we got more knowledge and experience.
When you're a community servant, now, I was telling people that I'm getting ready to retire from being senior pastor at my church. And they said, what you going to do? I'm going to be in the pews.
Right.
I'm not leaving the church, but I'm at this point where I got a younger assistant pastor. I want to see him succeed, so I want to make sure that I'm there to help him.
Right, exactly.
I think for too long, we have had leaders in our community that are servants that stayed to death because they didn't have any confidence in the younger people. What we have to do is understand that they always learn from us, and if we would put them in charge so that we can help them, they would be like us.
Right. And so Joyce had, because we were in District 12, not in 4. So Joyce had the person that replaced her. He was there, and he said a few words. Okay? So, so it's the mentoring part.
It's a mentoring part. And it's a
give and take on both sides.
It's a give and take. And, one of the things that we want to see more of is what you do. You don't hold an official office in the community, but you're still in the community dealing with some of the same issues that you was dealing with on city council.
Exactly.
But from a different perspective now, and I think going to be more effective now.
Right.
Because you ain't got all of them.
The constraints. Yeah, exactly.
So we on Veterans Talk every Saturday afternoon, talking about all things veterans in the community, trying to build and protect the democracy that we serve for. It's not a strange thing for veterans to be sheriff. It's not a strange thing for veterans to be chief of police of Atlanta. I've seen them. This city has been, my hometown. I always say that if you can't make it in Atlanta, Georgia, you can't make it nowhere.
Right.
It has been a magnet. Now, I'm tired of all these folk coming here over it. No, I'm just joking. I know the ATL attracts folks.
Right, it does. It does. We're going into another growth spurt.
Yeah, what we do down here is good all the time. We just got to get some better politicians. Get rid of the politicians, get some community servants in all levels of our government, especially under the Georgia Dome. got a problem with the Georgia thing. I want people to focus on one-off and that level of government, but please look at some of these races, especially one with Margaret Taylor Greene out there, y'all. I'm just asking y'all to look at these people that's running against them. And, she's running against a veteran. Somebody that we know going to stand up for the democracy.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Somebody that we know going to stand up for the democracy against somebody that's trying to tear it down.
Yeah, right.
We just want to make sure veterans understand that. And, you might be a Republican, but you're still a veteran, so you serve for this democracy.
Exactly.
Vote for the democracy.
Exactly.
Vote for the democracy. You don't, leave that party stuff all to the side right now. We just need to put country over party. We need country over party. So we'll be back here next Saturday doing the same thing. So I'm gonna be calling on you to come back whenever you feel like coming, because we need your voice. We need your we need your encouragement to veterans and to the community, because see, we're in that time where we got so much distractions. We got so much reliance on material things until we forget. We forget that we come through a lot, and we're losing our children. We're losing them to gun violence and to drugs, and we're losing them to empathy.
Right.
We still got one of the highest high school dropouts for young black men. We got to change that. We got to make sure that our young brothers are finishing high school.
Right.
And we got to make sure that the high schools are getting back to some industrial arts, some stuff that they
yes, because that's where the country is headed now. Is into the trades. They need more people in the trades than ever before.
Yeah.
Truck drivers, auto mechanics, electrical workers.
We got to
plumbers,
put it in the high schools.
Roofers.
We got to put it in the high school.
It never should have been taken out.
We got a lot of politicians.
I know.
And our government.
Yeah.
I used to, one of the things that I loved about Kamala Harris, she said all of her roles, the role she valued most was mama. And I just tell people, my mama could have been president.
Right.
The way she ran, the way she raised 5 of us.
Right.
And, I had to talk line. Because she gave me values. She put values before all this other stuff. She let, hey, okay, Elson, sit down. You need to know this.
Yeah. Let me tell you one thing real quickly about the trade. So there was a... it wasn't AutoZone. It was the other auto place. But anyway, they moved over to Martin Luther King. They're not there anymore. They moved over to Martin Luther King. And one of the community benefits that the community asked them for was, they said, and at that time they still had the trades, vocational trades over at Booker T. Washington. They said, we want you to train young people in the retail management of how to run one of these stores, where you get your parts and everything. And they did. And so they were there like after school in the summer, so they could become their own boss, so they could have their own business eventually.
One of my nephews graduated from that program. Well, I'm a bulldog anyway, so.
Oh, okay.
One of my nephews recently graduated from that program.
Okay.
And, he went right into management.
Right.
Right out of Washington High in the management. I was thinking he was going to go to the military, some other stuff. But he went right into management.
Right.
I said, well, that's what we got to do. We got to make sure that our community is getting the government resources that it deserves, and they're not skimmed off by the private pimps. We got to get these private pimps out the way with the community program, especially in the homeless program and in the reentry program. Reentry program is suffering just as much as the homeless program in our community, because for whatever reason, a lot of churches just don't want to reach out to people that coming out of prison. Big mistake. Yeah,
we had, the city of Atlanta had it before COVID. We had a reentry program. There's a lady that I know, I'm not sure if she still does it, but there's a reentry. She was doing a reentry program with the state, so they're out there. It's just tapping into them. There's
the state got a lot of money for reentry.
Yeah, and there's a lady on Martin Luther King. She had a program before COVID, for reentry, into offenders. Okay, so it's out. Let me say this: if you were in jail and you are now out of jail, you have completed all of your community service and your probationary period, you can vote. You have to have registered though already.
Yeah.
But you can vote, okay? So you can get those citizenship papers back. You can vote.
Yes. And vote. That's what you want to do. Now, next Saturday we'll be back here again. I know last Saturday we was over in Forest Park on our first annual Veterans Community Appreciation Ball.
Yes.
We was over there just to say thanks to the community people that have been helping us for the last 20 years. And, one of our champions here, Michael Julian Barnes didn't show up, but we got his certificate.
Right.
And we got a certificate for Robert Fowler about the Sons of Atlanta. So we're going to be doing the Sons of Atlanta Brickathon coming up for Veterans Day.
And I bought a brick.
And you bought
and I might buy another one.
And you're going to be asking the community to help us too, right?
Yes. Yeah. And Mary Norwood bought
20 bricks.
20 bricks.
Yeah, so that was a challenge to every one of y'all elected officials, because we're coming at you. See you next week. Thank you, Ms. Vincent.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Kenny, for being here, being faithful, brother.